Somewhere right now, someone is putting on a necklace. This is one of the oldest mourning rituals in human history, or sliding a ring onto their finger, or clipping earrings into place. It takes 3 seconds. They barely notice they are doing it. The most ancient gesture, the most modern mourning, the same. But this act is 100,000 years old. Every morning across 100,000 years, someone reaching for their beads. The oldest known jewelry in the world is shell beads from North Africa, found at Blombos Cave in South Africa and sites in Morocco, some dating to 150,000 years. Pierced and strung, deliberately decorated. 150,000 years ago. The holes are deliberate. The choice of shells is deliberate. This was not accidental. Before any farming, before any writing, before any city, jewelry is older than agriculture, older than the wheel, older than almost everything. Humans were making jewelry. One of the earliest things humans ever did that was not strictly about survival. Why? What were they doing? What was jewelry for?
The obvious answer is decoration, to look nice. But this answer, while not wrong, is radically incomplete. Because decoration for its own sake is a luxury, and the humans who made the oldest jewelry were not living in luxury. These were people focused on survival, on finding food, on not being eaten. They were living in small groups, on the edge of survival. Every resource mattered. If you were going to spend time and energy making something, it needed to do something. It needed to earn its place in a world where nothing was wasted. And jewelry did earn its place for 150,000 years. So what did jewelry do? What was its actual function?
The first and most important function, jewelry was identity. Not a shallow kind of identity, a survival kind. It said who I am, what group I belong to, what my status is, all without speaking. Before any shared language, pure visual communication. 3 pieces of vital social information, available without a single word. In a world without passports, without ID cards, without surnames, who are you? In the modern world, that question has easy answers. How did you know who someone was, where they came from, what they were to you? You looked at what they were wearing. The body was an information board, available to read by anyone who approached. The beads, the shells, the materials, the style, all communicated information. Each material told a story. Ochre-dyed shells meant one thing, uncolored shells meant another. This group uses these shells, that group uses these stones. A visual language readable across language barriers, readable even between enemies. This person is a leader. This person is a healer. This person has made the long journey. Jewelry was a wearable database of social information.
The second function, alliance. In the ancient world, you could not survive alone. You needed other groups, for trade, for marriage partners, for help in hard times. But other groups were also potential threats. How did you signal peaceful intent in a world with no police, no courts, no international law, just humans and their signals? You gave them something, and they gave you something. The exchange created a relationship, and the relationship created safety. Often jewelry, often beads or shells that came from far away. The farther the material traveled, the more it proved about the network. The exotic materials said, I have connections. I have traded far. I am worth knowing. Exotic materials were a form of social currency, and jewelry was the wallet. Shell beads found hundreds of kilometers from any coastline tell us exactly this. Someone carried those shells far inland, or traded them through a chain of relationships. These were not decorations, they were evidence of a social network. Every bead was a record of a relationship, a journey, a trade.
The third function, status. In every human society that has ever existed, some people have more than others, and the people with more needed a way to show it. Jewelry was that way. And communicating that difference matters for reproduction, for resource access, for protection. Jewelry made status visible, instantly, to everyone.
No interview required, no references needed. One look and you knew. The rare material, the complex craftsmanship, the number of pieces. You cannot fake these. They require real resources, real skill, real time. All said, I have resources, I have connections, I have skill, I matter. 4 signals, 1 glance. The most efficient status communication system ever invented. The 4th function, memory. Jewelry was kept, inherited, passed down through generations. In many cultures, jewelry was the primary form of inheritable wealth. A ring that has been on 3 hands in 3 generations carries 3 lives in it. It carried the presence of the person who wore it before. To wear your grandmother's ring is to carry her with you. The object remembers what the living can only try to remember.
And here is the twist. We think of jewelry as vanity, a frivolous indulgence, particularly somehow when women wear it, as superficial, as a weakness for shiny things, as something trivial, separate from what really matters. But what could matter more than knowing who you are, who you trust, and who you belong to? The oldest jewelry in the world is older than the oldest art. The Blombos cave beads predate the earliest known cave paintings by tens of thousands of years. Older than the oldest musical instruments. Older than almost every symbolic human activity. The first jewelry was not vanity, it was technology. The most human technology. The kind that solves social problems, not physical ones. Social technology. The most sophisticated kind. It solved the hardest problems humans have ever faced. The problems of identity, trust, and belonging. The problems that still define human life. Who are you? Can I trust you? Are we on the same side? 3 questions that can mean the difference between life and death in the ancient world. Jewelry was the original social media, and like social media, it was always about the same thing underneath. Instagram before cameras, LinkedIn before the internet. A profile you wore, broadcasting your identity and connections to everyone you met. Broadcasting who you were, what you stood for, who you knew, what you were worth, without electricity, without algorithms, just a string of shells and everything it meant. The next time you put on a necklace, remember, you are doing something 150,000 years old. And the people who wore the first beads were not so different from you. Not vanity, history. 150,000 years of humans reaching for the same small object, for the same reason. Every piece of jewelry is a link in a chain of human meaning that stretches back 150,000 years.
Subscribe. Every day we dig up one piece of the ancient human story.